Howdy, howdy, everybody. My name is Margaret. Thanks for coming on my channel. We are live today with my August wrap-up. So thanks for stopping by. You're now on BookTube, and we're happy to have you. So, how's everyone doing? Welcome to this live. I've put it off several times. I'm just going to let you know, not because I was trying to finish a book at the last minute. It was a series of unfortunate circumstances involving both my internet situation, and unfortunately there's a lot of internet gremlins going around, and the association's putting new doors in my apartment, which is awesome, but also loud and disruptive. So the last 2 days have been involved with that, and so no book videos were had. Hello, hello. Nice to see you, Barrett. Present and fabulous, obviously. Yes, I'm going to sneak in all the little references that anyone literary will love to get. So here we go. Apologies for the lateness. I know I don't usually do Thursday videos, but necessities needs must. So let's start. Did I beat my record for January books read? I read 20 books in January, and I think I've gone down to like 6 or 10. So my reading's all over the place, but let me just tell you, I did, and you'll hear at the end how many I've read. So I'm going to group these not how I read them, not in chronological order as I usually do, but by things that make sense to me. Hopefully they make sense to you as well. Hello, John. Howdy, howdy. A running tally of the books that are new. Yes, as my reigning title of Queen of the Books No One Has Heard Of, I want to keep that title and have it be undisputed. So yes, feel free to do so. Christie is here. Hello, hello. You're doing a lot of other things, Barrett. Don't compare. It's always ups and downs and teachings and learnings, and we're all here to beam the positivity. So don't even worry. We have first the crop of audiobooks, and I would do this, but this is live and not edited, so I can't put that frame where I want. I am also using borrowed plumes. You'll see a different background. You'll see a different mug. This is not mine. I am gratefully hiding out in my friend's house because her Wi-Fi is less unreliable than mine. So thank you. Thank you. All right. Audiobooks. Obviously, I can't put the cover up either, so apologize for that. But the first one I read right out the gate is called Miami, the Disposable City by Mario Alejandro Ariza. Amazing. So I am not a Florida fan. I can count myself in the camp of people who think that the Florida man jokes are pretty funny and pretty apt and, you know, pretty well deserved. I mean, come on. So this was about climate change, and not just climate change planning for one city, but also the history of Miami, the real estate craze in the 1920s, the government push and pull, the corruption, the tension between federal and local and state, the uncertainty of planning with politics the way they are. There were just so many different pieces of the puzzle that were from science to history to sociology that were so fascinating that this reporter, Ariza, put together to sort of explain this one case history, basically. And yes, I would recommend it. I think I gave it 4.75 stars out of 5. So yeah, definitely recommend. Let's see. Christie. Oh, guys. I thought I read a lot until I joined BookTube. Ha ha ha. Hard same. Yeah, so let me put in, he is a reporter in Florida at the moment, and he had a cool handle, so I thought I'd share that with y'all. His handle is easy to remember on Twitter. It's In a Minor Key, and I always think of Alicia Keys because that's an album of hers. But yeah, Mario Ariza. Excellent work. Journalist in Florida, Miami, the Disposable City. Go check it out. The second audiobook that I read in August was Deep Delta Justice by Matthew Van Meter. This was different than I thought it would be. Deep Delta Justice, I kind of think of Mississippi River. This is actually taking place in New Orleans and the very end of the delta, the river going out into the Gulf. And so the parishes, they're right at the edge there. And it deals with a hurricane. It deals with civil rights history. It deals with government and how the law was enacted negatively, but also weaponized positively in that era. And so, yeah, I thought this one was really interesting as well. Louisiana government, basically there's like a villain of the story, which is a sheriff, and you get to hear a little bit about his background. And then the protagonists are the people who are being picked on and basically persecuted by lawsuits and criminal penalties for no reason. And so, gosh, that might have a parallel today or something, but this was in the 60s, and the decisions that were laid out from this battle have repercussions today. And so that was a fascinating story to learn about. Deep Delta Justice by Matthew Van Meter. So that was like 4.25 stars, so also good. Let's get to number 3. I listened to, I don't know, I don't have a percentage written down, but not very much, probably like an hour, of Stop Checking Your Likes by Susie Moore. This is another audiobook, and it wasn't about technology engagement. It was very clickbait. It was, this isn't going to actually be about checking your likes and notifications and how that has manipulated us to act, which is what I'm interested in. This is going to be about cultivating an air of non-distraction and that exact voice. And so I was like, no. So that's a DNF. That was a DNF. But I'm going to count it as books this month because I gave it a good college try. The next audiobook is called The Skin We're In by Desmond Cole. I think it's Desmond. I only write the last names in there. Sorry if it's not. And he is a Canadian Black Lives Matter activist as well as reporter. And this was interesting. It was sort of like parallel activism moments in recent history, sort of like 2008 to 2018, in his life and his advocacy in the situation in Canada, especially in Toronto, and how the Canadian government has dealt with activists and causes and things like that. He goes a little bit into Indigenous activism and how they work side by side or sometimes get tangled up. And so there's a lot of fascinating things in there. But I think he reads his own book, and his voice is just one of those voices that grates on me. So it wasn't like the best matchup. Yes, history is interesting. Yes, the politics are important. Yes, the knowledge of the collective action and how Canadian government is dealing with their people and how we can, grab those strategies or whatever of how to deal back with our government is useful, but it wasn't my favorite reading experience, even with Libro.fm. So I think I gave that like 3 stars because it's good stuff, and recommend it to people looking for comparison because I don't think we have that many other options for like Black Lives Matter in Canada. A great hole to fill. And then the last audiobook I have in this category is Greenwood by Michael Christie. This was definitely a super high recommendation from middle of the book march, Kim. She super loved it. She super raved about it. And I was like, okay, well, I'll one up you here. And let's make it our Patreon book club book. So I subjected my Patreon book club to read this. And if you're interested in joining the Patreon book club, that is flashing my info on the screen there. We discussed this on Sunday the 29th, and I think I raised my my star rating a little bit, having heard the discussion. But basically, this is a story of it starts out with a woman whose last name is Greenwood on an island that's called Greenwood, and she's in a job. It's like post-climate apocalypse. She's very lucky to have this job in a green place because now, like, trees don't exist. Everyone has like a lung disease because of the air, just basic future dystopia. And then we go back in history and find out how things are related and how people got where they were. And I really liked the craft of this book, the writing, the metaphor, the complex characters. I would say that the people you thought you would be rooting for do not end up being the ones that you do. And so, yeah, I really like that. And beautiful language, just like oh, I can't remember what I texted someone. Beatles of some. Okay, anyway, they had some really beautiful language. I'll just leave that with you and say that I second Kim's recommendation for Greenwood by Michael Christie. Let's go audiobooks here. So that is my 5 audiobooks for the month. The next category I'm going to take you through is historical research. Let me catch some of the comments in between my my categories here. Buddha clickbait for sure. Life's too short if it's yeah. And you know, you never know. Voices are important, and I have definitely turned down people on dates because I hear their voice and I'm like, I can't talk to you. John says, I've heard of Greenwood, first one thus far. Oh, okay, good. So that was not on your list. Awesome. Haven't heard of any of these books until now. Oh, okay. Well, they are new releases. Audio books on Libro.fm that I have access to are more new releases. So these are probably the ones you're most likely to have heard of. So buckle up. There's more unknowns to come. Okay. All right. No one's heard of any of these. I'm still going strong with that. Okay. So research and history. And these are the ones I have physically. Okay. So the first one I have on this list, I read early in the month and actually took me several months to finish, is 5 Points by Taylor Anbinder. Yep. This is a classic. It's from like 2003, I think. And the subtitle is 19th Century New York City Neighborhood That Invented Tap Dance, Stole Elections, and Became the World's Most Notorious Slum. So this is borrowed from the friend in whose house I am right now, actually. And I can't give it back to her yet because I have to like note all of these or take photos of all of these research tidbits that I can't let go of yet. But it was really interesting. There's a lot of violence in this because it was a very violent place. I was a little surprised, and I was going through it more slowly than I might have because it starts in the 1830s, 40s, 50s, and spends a lot of time there. That is actually when the 5 Points got its reputation, and then it sort of hung on past several generations of different people coming in and like the character of the neighborhood changing, which was interesting. But anyway, elections were like, okay, I don't know how many people out there know what elections were like in 1820s England, but it was like you walk up on a platform and tell people who you're voting for, and then you walk off and someone buys you a beer because you voted for who they told you to. And it wasn't that far off in New York, and they actually had people who would beat you up if you left the place and you didn't vote for who you said you would, their guy. And it was just like, wow, okay, interesting. So that was the election part. It didn't really go into the birth of tap dance, even though that's in the subtitle. I would have liked it too. But yeah, super fascinating. Lots of good bits of history. Definitely recommend. Classic has earned its place in that pantheon. So yes, 5 Points. All right, historical research. We've got, next one is this one that I've been waiting to read for ever, and I got everyone telling me, Erik Larson, you're gonna love him. Yeah, it was good. He did an amazing amount of research for this book. I really appreciated that. I'm gonna steal a lot of it. That's all the things that I turned down. Did I not like anything? I think no, I didn't turn down anyone's negatively. Okay, so I have a lot of positive details that I'm gonna steal from this, and credit obviously, but his style of writing is often characterized as narrative-like fiction, right? It's he builds tension, he builds suspense in a way that makes it feel like fiction, even though he's explaining what actually happened, and this is a true crime narrative, right? And I saw how people would say that, but the way he does it is by jumping back and forth between like 3 different storylines. And I didn't really think that the guy who shoots the mayor was that interesting, but he gathered as much detail as he could and just sort of piled it in weird places in between. And then the other 2 storylines were the architects that built the city and the serial killer who was unmasked at the end finally, and the investigators. So I mean, you can guess which storyline was my favorite, the architects building the fair and all those details, but what did I end up giving this? I didn't put a rating down. It's kind of like too many people like this for me to objectively rate it, so it's definitely a good research book for my 1893 Chicago work in progress. But yeah, I don't know. I'll have to read another Erik Larson to give a better review of how I like his style, I should say. All right, and then the last historical research book is, oh, this is the one that I already have talked about a lot, The Women of the Copper Country by Maria Doria Russell. This is an author who I definitely want to read other books by. I have one already on my shelf, but this was a very realistic account of a historical event, a strike in 1913 in Calumet, Michigan, which is the Upper Peninsula, and that's where my dad's family is from. They're Yoopers, so yeah. So this was really good, really emotionally involved, and just like, anyway, I'll put up the review so that you can go check out my live review for that one. Excellent book. Okay, catching up on the chat. Amy's here. Hey, Amy. That is going on the TBR list. I guess that's the 5 points. I think you would definitely like the 5 points book. Yeah. Christie's saying, I've heard and read Devil in the White City, liked it a lot. Good deal. Never finished Devil in the White City, but I love the World's Fair planning part of the book. See, that was my favorite too. Like the serial killer, creepy vibes, not a true crime fan. I can take it or leave it. No, I can leave it. And also the weird guy that was like mentally troubled and ended up shooting the mayor, like also don't really care. Like, so yeah. Anita's here. Hey, Anita, thanks for coming. Devil in the White City is on my TBR. It's definitely interesting. It's definitely well-researched. If you're looking for background on that time period, I would definitely recommend it. That was too many times saying definitely. Beth Ann is here. Hello, Beth Ann. John saying, hi, Beth Ann. Okay, my next round of books, and this will not surprise some of you. It's the thickest ones in the pile. Anyone guess what's coming? Anyone? Oh man, I'm gonna knock something over. Oof. Okay, here we go. Let me do this because this is what people are doing these days. I was complaining about this in my discussion tab. Look at my books. What are they? Anyone can guess what these are based on comments I've left earlier. Yeah. This is what I'm owning up to. Okay, so as you might know, I spent most of the summer down in California at my parents' house / managing properties, and I visited with some old friends in my hometown, including a friend from high school. And when I left, on the way out of town, we swapped a bag of books. So we were just like, take it or leave it, pass it on. It's all you. Take what you like. And these happen to be in there. So what did I do when I got home and I was like brain dead and it was hot and I have no air conditioning? But read the whole day away and, throw away my brain for 8 hours at a time. A Court of Thorns and Roses is also known as ACOTAR. So this is why I'm calling this ACOTAR, enough said. This is the first one in the series. Meg also included the second one in the series, A Court of Mist and Fury. And I went out and bought the third in the series, A Court of Wings and Ruin. Am I ashamed? What can I say about this series? For anyone who hasn't heard of it, it's fantasy romance. And it is supposedly starts out with a Beauty and the Beast retelling. I've seen several people talk about Uprooted in fall recommendations videos recently, and they call it a Beauty and the Beast retelling as well. And I maybe need to read the original Beauty and the Beast Grimm tale again, because I'm not sure how rooted they are in those. I'm not sure what the ending is. I'm thinking more of the Disney movie, obviously. But for this fantasy romance, it just appears to be like a Stockholm Syndrome setup. And I'm not sure if that's like enough to be a Beauty and the Beast retelling, right? Because there's a lot of other pieces to that story or those characters that are not present. So what can I say about my reading experience? I mean, It's a very readable book. It's definitely something that is like trash you can get into and throw away several hours to read. And by trash, I don't mean like disgusting or bad writing or not worth reading, obviously. I'm using it in the Bernadette manner of using the word trash, which means that sinful, indulgent, almost on the verge of like guilty pleasure, because it's plot-based, it's fast-paced, it is emotionally engaging, and I might tease this out a bit more in another video. It hits on a lot of cultural, social norms in an interesting way, and not in a new way, but just an interesting way at this point in my life that I can observe. So that being said, the readability and the pace and the emotional engagement being said, these books also have all of the tropes thrown in. They have every like fantasy trope that I've read in every other book thrown in, and that didn't enhance it for me. They also use character names that are from other series or reminiscent of other cultures, and so it feels a lot like cultural appropriation, plagiarism, like somewhere in between those. The map is basically a map of Europe, but like not explaining itself. So like there's a lot of stuff that's just like could someone else have done this? Yeah, probably. But it is still very fun to read. And I've already read book 4 in September, and it was much worse. So I don't know if I'm going to go on to book 5. So that is my ACOTAR update, just for anyone. I will have to talk with Lady Jane about this more. She is waiting to read book 5 as well, or book 4 and 5. So I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, but that's where I am with this series. Yes, let's see. I've been meaning to read ACOTAR. I don't know how I'll like it, but I've heard a lot about it. It's one of those like ubiquitous. Everyone in the sci-fi fantasy realm has opinions on it, and I think most people love it. Let's see. Barrett, I need a reading holiday to burn through my TBR. Burn, baby, burn. Yes. Still can't believe you made it that far. You mean 4 out of 5? Someone else was asking me if I've read any other Sarah J. Maas. It might have been Jane when I was like texting with her on Instagram, and I haven't. So maybe her other series are more original. I don't know if anyone has opinions on that. Let me know. But this was like cotton candy level of nourishment, you know. But you keep wanting it. So yeah, definitely. Yes. Okay. After Lana, Amrita, and Rosie DNF'd it, I was like, nope. Oh, okay. So yeah, I don't have that running tally in my head. I didn't know who was on and off. I just knew that like everyone and their mother had talked about it, and I was just way behind the curve. So I thought I'd throw it in there and have fun. All right, so that's out of the way. Let's go on to our next section, which is other historical fiction for the win, because I'm a historical fiction fan. We have 3 in this category. Ooh, okay. First one here, again, trying not to knock everything over. First one is a friend's book, Anatomy of a Darkened Heart by Christie Stratos. This is an indie pub. I got it direct from her website so that I could support the author. And as you can see, it is I'm going to make it even spookier with the ring light reflection. It is a gothic horror. You can tell because there's a cracked mirror and a woman going up the stairs in a very creepily lit stairway. So there we go. Yes, and Christie has a gothic horror / historical fiction / getting into steampunk, but she calls it nanopunk, so I'm not sure. She's doing a few different like subgenres in the same genre, I'll say. And so, was it creepy? Yes. Is horror out of my comfort zone? Yes. I will say, let's see. She did tension very well. So if you do like reading horror and like sitting on the edge of your seat, I would definitely recommend this. She has very spare language, so she's chosen very carefully her words so that you can read it quickly but still feel chilled, if you know what I mean. And yeah, so good fall read if anyone's looking for it. And this is just the first in the series. So she does, they're sort of like short novels. They're novels, but she does offshoots in this series. Dark Victoriana Collection is the name. So definitely recommend Christie Stratos' book and her channel as well, which I will put in the description afterwards. All right, moving on with historical fiction. I've got, oh, here we go. You can see that I've mushed them together in an interesting way because this would ordinarily be historical romance, but this is other historical fiction for the month of August. So Courtney Milan, many of you might recognize the name of. She is epic on Twitter, and she is a champion of diversity in the romance genre. So go Courtney. I read one book of hers a couple months ago and really liked it. It had chess as a dominating theme, and this one has trigger warning, domestic violence, and what's its dominating theme? Service in the community, I guess, like saviorism. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that has a dominating theme, but it was good. I mean, I'd give it a good 3 stars. It's a historical romance. It's like, you know, pretty formulaic in terms of the trust and the situation and the danger and the rescue and like mutual rescue. So it was satisfying and a great romance to read. So that's my other historical fiction. And then the last one, ooh, yes, Castle on a Hill. Last one in this category is an ancient classic, Castle on the Hill by Elizabeth Gouge. I'm not sure. This is obviously like a vintage copy. What was really cool about this book is that it's a short novel, and I've read a few World War II novels recently, and they are, well, I've read some that are historical fiction and some that are contemporary fiction. This is contemporary. This woman wrote this in like 1940. And so it's very alive. It feels very close to the conflict. There's bombs dropping. There's like people very scared for their livelihoods. And, you know, this author did not know how it would turn out when she wrote this book. And so there's a level of pathos to that that really draws me in. The writing style is deeply psychological and internal, how would I describe this? Internalized compassion. She's given each character that she goes into the mindset of a significant leeway, maybe, of like ways to explain themselves, ways to express their fears. And I just thought it was really well done. And the cool thing is that I've been reading Vera Hodgson's Diary of the War in London from 1940 to 1945. And so I'm getting a nonfiction view of this at the same time reading a fictional account. And I just did an Maisie Dobbs that is in the same time period. So it's another, that's historical fiction. But it's really neat to see the different angles, perspectives, approaches, styles in the same place and time. I think if I read a lot of World War II historical fiction like Brittany at Literarily Smitten does, I would get pretty tired of it pretty soon because people writing now about the time will treat it a certain way. Whereas I think reading a nonfiction diary, reading a contemporary fiction, and reading a historical fiction by Jacqueline Winspear is enough of like a different architectural style to these houses that I'm viewing, if that makes sense. So that's been really interesting this past month, is to read all these about World War II, which is not my big thing, but just happened to happen. So yes, and this is a really good one. Did I give it a rating? Yeah, 4 stars. So I would definitely read more Elizabeth Gouge. And yeah, I really actually want to find out what she ended up doing, like how much she wrote and how she lived through it, because that'd be really cool. All right, so we're good with historical fiction. What is next? Wit month. How many of you guys did any women in translation this month? I'm looking at you. I'm looking at you. I'm looking at you. All right, I have 3 in this category as well. Let's start with, let's see what we have over here. Wit. All right, so I have, of course, it's on the bottom. I'm going to fall over myself again here. So I first started reading The Nakano Thrift Shop by Hiromi Kawakami. And I just saw Marilyn Maya Mendoza say that she was going to read this book. And so I was chatting with her in the comments about it, and she really liked it. She just finished it in the comments and thought the pacing was really good. The sort of circular themes that she came back to were really good. I should talk to her about it because my overall thing was I went through this very slowly and I just thought all the characters were weird. And after DNFing Before the Coffee Gets Cold, I'm getting a feeling that Japanese contemporary fiction is just maybe not for me. I don't know. I don't know if anyone knows what I mean when I talk about weird, but like it's like elevating social awkwardness to an art and like continually pointing out people. Like there are some beautiful moments, mostly involving outside and the weather or laughter, I guess. But there is a lot of social awkwardness in this. And for someone who's empathic about characters, like that's not fun to read, really. So I don't know. If anyone else has read this for Wit Month, let me know what you thought. Maybe we can all have a talk with Marilyn because that'd be fun. Amy's got to go. PlayStation Showcase is starting. Be back later to watch translated works. Oh, cool. Okay. That's good. I don't feel so alone. Japanese contemporary fiction is very weird to Amy as well. Okay, good. But I did finish it, so I'm able to converse with people about the whole arc. What do I have else in? Oh, I didn't bring it with me. Okay, the second book for Women in Translation is Beauty is a Wound by Eva Kurniawan. It is from Indonesian to, oh, I didn't say the translator. I said I would do this when I did the wrap up and I forgot. Translator for Hiromi Kawakami is Allison Markin Powell. Ta-da. And I did not finish Beauty is a Wound, but I can put the translator in the notes later. I've gotten about 100 pages in, and it's probably like 350, so I'm like a good quarter to a third, maybe. And it's very violent, and it's very glib, and the character, there's some magical realism in it, because the character wakes up after being buried for 10 years. So I was trying to grapple with that. It's not usually my thing. And I was also trying to grapple with like all the wartime rape and pillage that was talked about in an unusual way, and just is not feeling called to finish it. Like I think I'm just going to pass it on to someone else who thinks that is more their style, because they will enjoy it rather than suffer through it like I did, or chose not to. So yeah. That would be intense as a writer. Yeah, the awkwardness, like who needs more awkwardness? CGL. That's not the PlayStation Showcase Amy was talking about, but it's got to be something cool because Barrett's going to go do it. And let's see, Christie's saying, I don't know if Murakami counts as contemporary for Japanese fiction, but his books are odd and filled with depictions of women's body parts. Yeah. So even though I'm doing women in translation, like the social awkwardness seems to be a thing. Like they've cornered the market on it. I'm not sure why. Barrett says, watch the rest on replay. Don't forget to like, friends. Yes, like and subscribe. I was just watching one of Barrett's other videos where he talks about percentage of people subscribed versus unsubscribed who are watching your videos, and how, you might think it's great if you have all subscribers watching, which I think is the case with me, but really you want a good portion of non-subscribers watching, because then they have the chance to like your stuff and then become subscribers, which is growth. So yeah. Chrissy's saying, yes, gotta like the video. Thank you, friends, for reminding me to do my business. Thank you. And then the last Wit Month, I've saved the best for last here, is from Korean, and this is by Soon-mi Hwang, The Hen Who Dreamed She Could Fly, and it's translated by Chi Young Kim. Illustrations by Nomoko. So there's the full deal. And there's one of the illustrations. It's just very, what do I call it? Whimsical, spare. I'm not very good at describing pictures because, yeah, I use words as text, not as describers. I don't know. But anyway, yes, this was my favorite of my Women in Translation books. It's very short. It's, let's see. I already laid out what I could say about it here. Beautifully simple. Oh, okay, here's what I would point out. It's about a hen who has a dream, and she comes off as very naive, kind of animal-like at the beginning. And then you see her go through growth and through pain to more growth and through grief and whatnot until she has this revelation. And it's kind of like what I imagine the rapture would be like for this hen, right? It's like you go, you learn, you fall down, you suffer pain, and then you have that moment of like comprehension, like right before you die, where everything makes sense, but like it's glorious, and then you don't get to enjoy it. So it's very dramatic in its arc. Characters were fun. They didn't say a lot, so you had to read a lot between the lines, and I just liked it better. I don't know. It could be weird as well, but I chose to go with, let's just go with it. It's a hen, there's a fox, there's an enemy, like, I don't know. I just went with it. I watched Shelley Swearingen's video about Babar and how an elephant wearing a suit going to work was absurdism. And I don't quite agree, because then you could look at this as like a story with animals as absurdism, but it's not the point. Anyway, I'm still thinking about that and like what I want to do with it. But if anyone's seen that video and agrees or disagrees, free to let me know. So those are my Whit Month books. The stack is getting very high down there. What is next? Let's see. Single book reviews, Margaret. Are you telling me to do single book reviews instead of making the wrap up so long? Allison, continuing Whit Month in September after DNFing 2 of 3 in August. One was awesome though. Okay. Oh, okay. Well, I'd love to hear which book you liked and which ones you're going to continue with. That'd be good. I sort of went for Asian women in fiction. I did Korea, Indonesia, and Japan. So I think next time I'll try to do a different continent. Maybe I'll try to find like African women in literature, something in a few months to vary it up. So next we have the sci-fi fantasy. Not that one. Not that one. Just 2. Yeah, okay. I have 2.5 in this category. And I'm going to put up this. So you may know this if you've watched already, but I had a panel scheduled with Katja Weiner and Amrita by the book, and we had a discussion that was mostly them because my internet was on the fritz, which is, again, why I'm here in borrowed plumes. And yeah, this is the book I would have liked to talk about. What I did was go back and put chapters in the description to show everyone the discussions we had, because I missed out on maybe like a quarter of what they were saying, which is stupid. But hopefully, internet is on its way. It's supposed to arrive today, and then I will struggle with installing it, however that's going to work, and then have reliable internet at my house. Imagine that. So that won't happen again. But what do you need to know? What do I need to tell you to convince you to read this book? A Memory Called Empire by Arkady Martin. I am currently reading the sequel called The Desolation Called Peace. And it is, let's see, why was it recommended? Amrita's like converted all of us. It's recommended because it is a novel about empire and about how colonialism in space changes how people perceive themselves, how they use language in their minds, how they think about things. And so it's very hard to untrain yourself from those things. And so that's why colonialism can be so harmful. But looking through the lens of a linguistic, what did she say? She's a Byzantiumist. I can't remember what the word was. And a linguistic anthropologist or something really cool. And so this author basically has used the language choices, super original, not like someone else I could name, the language choices in here to reflect other places and times in history where empire was a tool, and how basically like to refer to how those people might have been affected. Yeah, so we talked about the language and the characters and the representation and a lot of like the mental work that the characters did. And Amrita assures me that the sequel like rounds everything out and makes it 10 times better. And so I already love this one. So this is like a 4.75. I definitely recommend Memory Called Empire, and I'm working on the sequel, so I'll be able to tell you about that very shortly. So yes, okay. Thank you, John. The single review videos is for the unsubscribed. Faux show. That is the video that you should see to listen to Amrita and Katya talk about this book. I did put spoiler banners up so that you don't get spoiled if we, I mean, I think I did. I did in the chapters, that's right. So if you go by the chapters and the timestamps, you won't get spoiled by stuff, so that's good. Yay, Bethany wants to read this book. You totally should. Totally should. And the half that is in this category is that I was sort of hoping to read Oryx and Crake by Margaret Atwood this month. I better read with John. Hey, y'all, listen up. But I didn't get to it till the last day of the month, and I didn't finish it until September, so I won't talk about the book here. We might talk about it offline. We might talk about it in a live book discussion. Who knows? It was a sad, sad book. That is what I will say today. What is next? Ooh. Nonfiction. All right, so there's just one in this category. We're getting to the last dregs. Oh, I've got one with no category. Okay, before I pop into nonfiction, this one defies categories. The Half God of Rainfall by Inwa Ellams. This is the epic poetry using Nigerian and other folklore and set in modern times. So there's no way to categorize this. It was very short. It was interesting. I was going to read this with Sandy Golston, but he is super busy, and there's some bad weather been happening over in Michigan. So I will connect with him to see if he wants to talk about it as well. But interesting book, sort of a mind stretcher. Sometimes when you read outside your comfort zone, you expect to, oh, maybe I should look this up to get more out of it. Or, oh, that's definitely out of my cultural background. I can tell that I don't understand the reference, that kind of thing. And sometimes that can feel like you want to go look it up. And sometimes it can be, I just feel excluded. And the language was epic poetry enough that I didn't feel excluded, but I would definitely want to talk to someone who might get more. It's Nigerian folklore and then mixed in with like basketball. So maybe Sandy can help me out on the basketball part. All right, so there's that. Two more. Yes. Beth Ann has to go pick up the kid. Awesome reading month. Catch up on the rest of the books later. See you later. Sad book. We're agreed on our basic points, so that's good. All right, and then we're going to hop back to stop doing the edit button. There we go. Nonfiction. Rooted by Lyanda Lynn Haupt. Haupt. She is in Washington State, so she is nearby, and I'm hoping to ask her to come to the old Boca Float. We'll see if it works out. Life at the Crossroads of Science, Nature, and Spirit. This is definitely one I'm going to loan to my mom, and we're going to swap. So I'm reading Gathering Moss by Robin Wall Kimmerer right now. It's the book before Braiding Sweetgrass of great fame everywhere. And Gathering Moss is amazing. And this book was a very good primer for that, because if you like Braiding Sweetgrass, I think this will be just as nourishing. It's a memoir-ish series of essays and reflections on not directly on her belief system, but about like thinking through different quandaries and dilemmas and fixes that we're in at this present moment, and thinking about environmentalism and, you know, things that are at loggerheads, not to be punny. But it's just a very quiet, reflective, peaceful, yet firm, strong, active belief, if that makes sense. These are all these just descriptions I'm going to throw at you, and if you feel like that's the mood you're in, if you're a moody reader, then this is a book for you. Yeah, it's got little illustrations at each essay, and you know, she does something in her life that makes her think about a certain topic, and then she expounds on the topics. So 5 stars. Really, really enjoyed this one. That is my nonfiction that didn't fit into the other categories. And then the last category, contemporary. So this is one of the books, The Bookshop of Second Chances by Jackie Fraser, that I bought when I broke out of the apartment and went to the beach for a day in April, May, sometime back there, because I couldn't handle being inside anymore. And oh, it's set in a bookstore. It's set in Scotland. It's a second chance romance. There's like so many good tropes in here. What did I like about it? Let's see. The character study was great. We had a lot of on the surface one thing and then getting to the root of the matter for characters. The romantic arcs of those characters were A+. The unlikable characters were well sketched and funny, and you know, other characters were funny too, so that was A+. And then the setting, of course, like Scottish book town. Yes. So yeah, this was a really good one. What did I 4.5 stars, because contemporary romance, it's hard to get me with contemporary romance, but this was like I ate it up in 2 days. It was really good and packed an emotional punch as well, so definitely recommend. Oh my goodness. Okay, so what did we add up to? I don't know if anyone is still on who counted the whole way. 21 books. I beat my January record and had a great reading month. I think most of the year I was having like 4 stars, which is like, it's good, but it didn't like get me. And there were several books this month, this August, that got me and like knocked me out. So that was a good reading month. What do I have else to let you know? I have 2 events coming up here that I'll just slip into the chat, and then I'll fill out the in the description box. This Sunday, we're going to have a Authortube panel. So as you may know, I like to do a couple posts that are Authortube focused every month rather than BookTube focused, because I am an author. And this is going to be about dream book events. So if you're an author, you should listen, because it's going to give you ideas about what you can do for your book launch. And if you're not an author, you can still listen, because we'll be describing like our ideal event and like gathering. So some of it will be marketing related, but I think some of it will also be like, I love walking through the forest, so it would be in a forest. Or I love cake, so I would have like my very own cover on a cake in some way, or you know, what have you. So very excited for this. We've got great authors on the panel. We have, let's see, there's 4. Let me pop it up there for you guys. Katie Salidas, who is often on Go Indie Now. We have Anita Stewart, who is often on a related channel, Talking with Joe of Go Indie Now. That's how I met both of them. We've got, who is on my banner since I'm not looking at it right now? Anita, Katie, Tracie Momie Reads, who is a newer channel, but also has 5 books out. She does contemporary romance, so I'm very much looking to hear what her ideal book event would be. And is that it? I think there's one more person. Who's the one more person? Christie! Christie Stratos will also be there, and I know her through JD. So she has her own series of talks on Tuesdays, which is with Richard Stevens. So all these authors have their own things going, but I'm just reaching out to connect with them and, you know, get some ideas going about book events. And what's it called? Marinate in some happiness, some happy ideal talk. I think that'd be fun. And then just for a preview of what's coming after that, the next Sunday is when I usually do my Patreon bookish chat and have a guest on. And this time it's going to be Vicky J. Carter, who I met through Yellow Book Afloat. She is a phenomenal podcaster. She has a full-time job, but put on hundreds of episodes of a podcast for Pacific Northwest writers. And she has since switched over to writing her own book about research as a librarian. And her new site is called The Author's Librarian. So I'm going to have her on. We're going to talk about research and reference and all those fun authory things. And that will be Sunday after at 1 p.m. Pacific. So that is a lot of stuff going on. 21, John says, great job. I counted 6 I had heard of prior with one I'm not sure of. Which one are you not sure of? That's interesting. Oh gosh, okay. Just looking at the time. This was an interesting time to choose. I didn't want to, I don't know. There's a lot of factors I was trying to weigh. So hope this works out for people to watch later, to weigh in about what they've heard of, what they disagree with, whether ACOTAR is the greatest ever. I mean, I'm willing to consider opinions that are not my own. So, Devil in the White City. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So, thanks for coming by. Let's see. Any questions? I'm just going to say thank you. Come to the Authortube panels this Sunday at 2, next Sunday at 1, my time. And I think that is all for the day because we're off. It's Thursday. Everyone's like scattered, has stuff to do. But yeah, I started August here. We went down. I filled a page, with sticker, filled another page with my notes here. And I've already started September. It's September 9th. So we've already got a good number of books for September. I don't know, something about these past couple months just made me want to retreat into reading. I'm sure others can relate. So that is all for me today. Thank you so much for stopping by, everybody. And like, subscribe, give me a comment. What was your favorite out of any of these books, if you've heard of them? And happy weekend. I'm going to get back to my cold tea. And that's it for today. Thanks, everybody.